What's up there? So this is going to be my second video and second impression on the manga Platinum In. So I just read the second chapter for the first time. And I did read it right after doing the video on the first chapter impression. And just as I mentioned in the first chapter impression, this one will be spoilers for the entire one. I was just trying to keep the first chapter impression spoiler free. But this one will be spoilers about everything in the second chapter. I'll talk about whatever in the second chapter. And so overall, second chapter, it's fine. Totally okay. Definitely didn't like it as much as the first chapter. Mainly the thing about the second chapter was it definitely felt short, but not in the good way. It's over a 50 page chapter still, but I felt like I got about the same amount of content or maybe even less of the amount of content that I would have in a normal Tsugumi Oba chapter of like Bakuman or Death Note, which is very strange because he's known for his talking and then just like talking, and a lot of information comes across, which some people don't like that. Some people don't like the walls of text. I like the walls of text, and I was hoping that this series wouldn't rely on that, or that maybe that wouldn't be one of those things that people harp on in the series. But for me, it almost has the opposite effect, where I feel like I just don't get enough of that content. It goes by too fast. So like in the second chapter, we already have been introduced to well, to start off, the God's game is explained to our main character Mirai, and so he knows about it now. The angel explains it to him, and then pretty much right off the bat, we do meet another guy in the chapter who's also in the competition, and this guy also just totally gets taken out right away, which I'm fine with. I'm fine with them setting somebody up and knocking them down really fast. Totally fine with that. But it didn't feel filled, I guess is the best word. Like it didn't feel like it had a lot of impact. It's like, okay, we just met this guy, knocked out. And then I think they definitely did that because the person who knocked him out is a character who is probably going to get more screen time. And I definitely don't think there's going to be many characters who are going to be introduced and knocked out right away. I'm going to guess we're probably going to get a core cast within the 13 people who are chosen, because there's 13 people chosen within the game. So probably some of those people are going to be a core cast, and they probably will interact with each other in some way. Like, I guess that is one of the big questions, is if they'll do that. I have a feeling they would. Like at some point, probably going to be some girl one who the guy. Okay, that's not probably going to be, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be some girl one who the main character can't help but not try to team up with, or like not want to kill, because it seems like one of the other aspects that's going to go on now is that because we're also introduced to a third person in the God's game who kills the second person who's introduced, who don't remember his name. I believe it's like Romero. He was a comedian, and so basically he would use the powers for doing the sex and stuff like that. And of course, second chapter did have sex, and that's why the age rating was changed on Viz.com. Still recommend reading it there. Totally fine. And I guess that maybe we're introduced to a fourth one as well. There is the potential that, so in the second chapter, we have no 4 of the apostles now. So first chapter, we meet Mirai. Or I call them the apostles, I don't know why, because there's like 13. But, so Mirai in the first chapter. In this chapter, we meet the comedian, gets killed off by the third guy, who's like a masked superhero, but he seems to have morals. And then we're introduced to a fourth guy who's just like, I'm going to kill everybody else to become God. So I'm going to guess that's not the guy who's the masked hero or whatever. And that's the thing, is I'm talking about all these things, and I don't feel connected to them that much. Like, even when I reread the first chapter, I felt connected to Mirai's story, and that's definitely still my favorite part about this chapter was Mirai. Because he's so likable, and that is weird to say, because I try to distance myself from characters if they have the potential to be very bad people. Like Light, from the very beginning, you should be like, this has the tendency to be like, Light can be a bad person, which happens really early on in Death Note. But I don't think that's going to happen with Mirai at all. I think the point that they're setting it up for is that he's really good, and it seems like what they may try to do is set up that the angels aren't. And that was also something I didn't mention in my impression for the first chapter that I meant to include, was that I like that the guardian angel character for the main character is not the most likable. She's actually kind of scary in her, I guess, not blind or not naive. It's just in her emotionless assumptions about human life. So, like in this chapter, she says you should just kill your family, the family that betrayed him in the first chapter. So you should just kill them and get all their money. And he's like, no, that's not what you would do if you're a good person. And she's like, you should just lie and steal. And he's like, that's not what you do if you're a good person. And so I like that part. I like that the angels don't have morals that you would expect angels to, but not just angels, they have morals that are worse than human being morals. So I like that aspect to it, where maybe at the end of the series the main character will be like, well, I have to become God so I can fix up this whole messed up angel system. I don't know. I think that's interesting. I like that the angels aren't pretty perfect human beings, saintly people. The most saintly person in the actual manga is Mirai, which is why I like him a lot. And he's not in the first chapter a lot. We do get, I mean, he's not in this chapter a lot. What we do get, though, is we get that now his goal is going to be he wants a normal happiness, which I think is also, I guess, not the most interesting, but I like it. I like that he's not going after the King's game. He's just like, no, I'm just going to go do my life how I can do it. And I was like, going to go to try having normal happiness, even though he's definitely going to get thrown into the whole King's business. And then also they introduced a new arrow this time, so it's like that kind of threw off the version of the Death Note thing where it's making people love you, where now it's like, no, you basically have the Death Note power too, you can just kill whoever you want. Because now the arrows turn to white arrows and you can just shoot people and kill them. But yeah, overall it just went by so fast. Like, I think I read it in just like a couple minutes, which I'm a slow reader. And this would be like the fourth, this would be like a fourth of a normal volume of manga, which I would assume would take me like 10 to 15 minutes. Especially like a Tsugumi Obo one would take me like way longer than that. Like, they're so wordy. But this one is just like, just breeze by it, and content. And it's not just that I read it fast, it's that I feel like what I got from it wasn't a lot. Like, I feel like I said, I feel like the story that I just summarized basically for you was something that I would see in a normal weekly chapter of a manga that's like 17, 20 pages long. Not one that's 50 pages long. And that's why it was very strange, because overall, this duo's manga seems to be dense in general, and this one just didn't feel dense, which I was hoping they wouldn't rely on being dense and wordy, even though I like it, I know other people don't, so I was fine with them changing that, but it just feels way too fast for me. And then right after I finish this impression, I am going to read the third chapter, so I wonder if that's changed at all. Obviously, being a monthly series, they get feedback on these chapters before like the third one came out. So by the time that third one's out, they've definitely probably already seen some feedback from the first one. I don't know about the second chapter, but definitely from the first chapter, they've probably seen feedback. So yeah, stayed the same throughout. Totally better. I actually do like the arrow art better in some scenes. We have a character who's just messing around with the arrows, and it doesn't look as computer generated. I'm not sure if it is computer generated anymore, which is a good thing, or I'm not just like, that's something you just like put clip art over it. Nothing against clip art. I like clip art. I think it's funny. But yeah, first chapter kind of felt like clip art. This time I was just like, I don't know if that's a CG cube or if he actually drew that out, or what is he doing, or is he using toner? I don't know. Not toner. If he's using, I don't know if he's using screen tones. I don't know. So yeah, all the same. What do I hope happens? I hope more happens. Basically, that's what I hope. Is I hope the chapters are denser. I basically feel like I'm basically in the same place story-wise as I was at the end of the first chapter. Nothing surprised me in the second chapter. Only thing that was really surprised. Yeah, that was the thing. Is like, that's the thing. Story-wise, nothing surprised me in the second chapter. So I just hope that next chapter there are some surprises and it moves a bit faster, but I get more content. That's the main thing. Is I feel like I don't necessarily want things to happen faster. I just want more things to happen and condense it. Like, even if things do happen fast, make more things happen. I need more per chapter is what I would feel like. Because basically if we get another chapter gone by and it's just new faces and I'm attending school, then I'll be like, I didn't wait a month because I'm reading all 3 chapters back to back, but I'd feel like that's kind of sucky to wait a month and be like the main character's still in school. It is a slow building story though. Other things that I'd want from it is just more Mirai. I do like him as a character. I do feel like he is not just likable as a character, but likable as a human being. This was another thing I meant to mention in the first impression as well, was that I really like the scene where this kid's about to commit suicide and he's going to steal some bread at the last, like right before this, you know, like maybe like a last supper, and even then he can't bring himself to steal the bread. I really like that. And so I like in this chapter you see that him being like, the angel is like, you can do these things, so why don't you do them? And he's like, because doing them isn't what I want to do, and that wouldn't make me a good person for doing them just because I can. And I think that goes along with his whole, and then just like the first chapter, it does seem to be a recurring thing where the mother's like, we're born to be happy and we live to be happier, and he's like, that's not what's going to make me happy. Like, that's not what's going to be my true happiness. So I like that he has morals, and then like even the angel calls him principled. So yeah. And the thing is, he's not a bad person. But I was thinking, I guess he could be more saintly, because he is pretty saintly. He could be more saintly as if he refused to stay in the hotel, because in the chapter he's staying in the hotel. And I'm just like, but the hotels, they have empty rooms. And it's not like he's technically stealing it, because the guy's probably just like, you can stay in that room. So, yeah. So he's tricking the guy more than he's stealing from the hotel. So I was like, he can get away with that. And I guess that's pretty much it for the first chapter. Definitely recommend checking it out still. I feel like it's still going to be fun. I'm happy that now that I'll be caught up, I can read it month to month. And then I'll really know whether or not I feel like that was a waste of a chapter this month. Because I don't feel like this was a waste of a chapter, but I feel like I just wanted more to happen. I feel like I would have been let down if I had read this a month after reading the first one, and then I have to wait a month for the third one, because just finished the second chapter, going to read the third one right after this. So yeah, definitely check it out. manga.com. Have a link in the description. $1 a chapter. Totally fine. Totally worth it.